My wife cheating on me wasn't the worst part. She tried to secretly sell our house, move in her lover, and erase me entirely, but I proved the deed was in my name only and made her regret everything. Lana's leaving, and she sold our house. Michael Reed stood paralyzed in the Denver high-rise lobby, her words detonating in his skull like a grenade tossed mid-conversation. He'd been riding high just minutes ago. At 38, he was a solid mid-level architect from Austin, Texas, wrapping a pitch for a retail complex to a boutique Denver firm. The clients loved his designs, clean lines, practical elegance. Handshakes sealed the deal, and he was already mentally drafting follow-ups when his phone buzzed. Lana's name flashed. He expected her usual check-in, maybe a quip about Austin's heat or her yoga studio's latest gossip. He swiped to answer, leaning against a cold marble pillar, a faint smile ready. "Hey babe," he said. "What's up?" Her laugh cut through, jagged and wrong. "Oh, Michael, still clueless." His stomach twisted. "Lana, you okay?" A beat of silence stretched, spiked by a low male voice in the background. Then she spoke, voice flat as a blade. "I'm leaving you." The floor seemed to tilt. He gripped the phone, knuckles whitening. "What?" "Don't play dumb," she said, like she was scolding a child. "It's been dead for years. I'm with Travis now, younger, alive. You wouldn't get it." Travis? The name was a blank. His mind clawed for context, finding nothing. "And the house," she went on, casual as if mentioning dinner plans. "I sold it. Papers are signed. Money's coming. Done deal." "Sold it." His voice broke. Their home, the one they'd poured 7 years into, from mortgage fights to picking out that damn kitchen island, erased? "Lana, you can't." She laughed again, colder, a sound that clawed at his chest. "You'll figure it out, Michael. Always do. Travis is waiting. Bye." The call died. He stared at the blank screen, pulse hammering. Sold. Leaving. Travis. The words spun, refusing to settle. Their house, the creaky porch they'd never fixed, the bedroom where her breath used to sync with his at night. Gone? Lana was impulsive, sure, but this was a gut punch, calculated and cruel. That laugh wasn't hers, not the woman who'd teared up signing the deed, calling it their anchor. His eyes flicked to the conference room doors across the lobby. The clients were waiting, probably swirling their coffees, expecting him back with his steady nod. 5 minutes, tops, before they'd notice his absence. 5 minutes to choke down this betrayal and bury it deep. Michael's jaw clenched. His hands shook, but he shoved the phone into his pocket, forcing his face to still. Lana thought she could unravel him with a call? She'd misjudged him. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. He'd walk back into that meeting, seal the deal, and then he'd fight. For the house. For himself. He took a sharp breath and strode toward the doors, each step a defiance. She'd started this game. He'd finish it. Michael Reed pushed through the conference room doors, his face a mask of calm while his insides churned like a storm-hit sea. Lana's voice still echoed. "I'm leaving you. Sold the house. Travis." Each word was a splinter, lodging deeper the more he tried to ignore them. He forced a nod at the Denver clients, their faces blurring into polite smiles as they gestured him back to the table. The room smelled of stale coffee and ink, grounding him just enough to keep his feet moving. "Everything okay, Michael?" asked Claire, the firm's lead, her brow creasing slightly. "Family call," he said, voice steady, betraying nothing. "All good." He slid into his chair, fingers brushing the edge of his notebook, anchoring himself to the present. The clients resumed their chatter, timelines, budgets, tweaks to the retail complex's courtyard. He scribbled notes, mechanical, his pen moving while his mind fractured. Sold the house, their house. The one they'd fought for, bled for, built from nothing. Lana couldn't just buy, could she? His pulse hammered, but he kept his eyes on the page, every line a tether to control. Sighed. He was unraveling. The call replayed, her laugh slicing fresh each time. He saw her now, in fragments. The way she'd started lingering at her yoga studio, claiming late classes, her phone angled just out of view during dinners. Her signs he'd brushed off as stress, quirks of a 7-year marriage. How had he missed it? Travis, whoever the hell he was, had slipped into their life like a thief, and Lana had handed him the keys. "Michael," Claire's voice cut through. "Thoughts on the facade?" He blinked, forcing focus. "Glass with steel accents," he said, the words automatic, honed from years of pitches. "Keeps it modern but warm." She nodded, satisfied, and he exhaled, grateful his autopilot hadn't failed. But the effort cost him. His chest tightened. A scream tracked behind his ribs. He wanted to bolt, call Lana back, demand answers, or hell, just yell until his throat gave out. Instead, he sat, pen scratching while memories ambushed him. Their first night in the house, laughing about forever, her hand in his, promising they'd grow old there. He caught his reflection in the conference room's window. Same short-cropped hair, same jawline, but his eyes looked hollow, betrayed. He straightened, forcing the thought down. Lana wanted to gut him, to leave him scrambling. He wouldn't give her that. Not here, not now. He'd walk out of this meeting with the deal signed, his reputation intact. She didn't get to take that too. The meeting dragged. Questions, clarifications, small talk about Denver's craft beer scene. He answered, smiled, even cracked a dry joke that earned a chuckle. But every second was a battle to stay present. His mind kept pulling back to Austin, to his house. Was she there now, packing? Was Travis with her, touching their things? The thought made his stomach lurch, but he swallowed it, nodding at some point about parking ratios. When the clients finally stood, offering handshakes, he mirrored them, grip firm, expression locked. Looking forward to next steps, he said, and they believed him. The deal was his. He'd done it, kept the cracks hidden, held the line. Alone in the elevator, he let his shoulders sag, just for a moment. The mirrored walls threw his face back at him, and he barely recognized it. 7 years with Lana. 7 years of compromises, dreams, quiet mornings, erased in a 5-minute call. He could still hear her laugh, that cruel edge, like she was toying with him. A game. That's what this felt like, her move, designed to break him. He stepped into the lobby, the Denver chill seeping through the glass doors. His phone stayed in his pocket. He wouldn't call her, wouldn't beg. Not yet. He needed to think, to understand what she'd actually done. Selling a house wasn't a whim. It took time, signatures, intent. His name was on the deed too. Could she even? Doubt gnawed, but so did resolve. Michael pulled his coat tighter and stepped outside, the city's pulse swallowing him. He'd go back to his hotel, pour a drink, and start digging. Lana thought she'd won, thought she could torch their life and walk away laughing. She was wrong. He'd fight for the house, for his pride, for the man he still was beneath the shock. Silent, he made a vow. She wouldn't break him. Not emotionally, not legally, not ever. Michael sat on the edge of the hotel bed, the Denver skyline a muted glow through the window. His laptop lay open, unanswered emails from the client meeting ignored. The whiskey in his glass was untouched, its amber glint mocking his need for clarity. Lana's called. I'm leaving you. Sold the house. Travis. And carved a fault line through his mind, and now memories of their 7-year marriage seeped through the cracks, each one sharper than the last. He saw their first day in the Austin house, a humid June afternoon. They'd collapsed on the bare living room floor, surrounded by boxes, laughing over a pizza they ate straight from the cardboard. Lana's hair was a mess, her smile unguarded. This is us, Michael, she'd said, tapping the hardwood. Our forever. He'd believed her. They'd scraped every penny for that place, late nights drafting proposals, her yoga classes barely covering her share. He'd taken extra freelance gigs, sketching strip malls until his hands cramped. They'd made it work, together. Now? She'd burned it down, not just the affair, Travis, that faceless name, but her cold efficiency in erasing him. Selling their home wasn't a tantrum, it was a plan. She'd played him, and the betrayal stung worse than her leaving. He stood, pacing the sterile room. Another memory hit, their second anniversary. Lana had surprised him with a framed sketch of the house, her handwriting scrawled across it. Our castle, always. He'd hung it in their bedroom, where it stayed through every fight, every quiet reconciliation. Had she packed it, tossed it, or was it still there, mocking him while Travis lounged in his space? His jaw clenched, the thought of fresh wounds. He sank back onto the bed, rubbing his temples. The signs were there, weren't they? Last year, she'd started pulling away, shorter calls when he traveled, vague answers about her day. He'd chalked it up to her studio's growth, her new obsession with finding herself. That retreat in Sedona, 6 weeks long, where her texts dwindled to emojis. He'd sent her a photo of their garden, the tomatoes they'd planted together finally ripe. Her reply, a thumbs up. He'd laughed it off. Idiot. The whiskey called, but he ignored it. Another flash, their 5th year, renovating the kitchen. They'd argued over cabinet colors, her wanting sleek white, him pushing for oak. They'd compromised on gray, sealed with a kiss over sawdust. That island became their hub. Friends laughing, her pouring wine, him grilling in the backyard. Every nail, every choice was theirs. Now she'd sold it like it was nothing, like their life was a garage sale item. He grabbed his phone, thumb hovering over her number. He wanted to call, to demand how she justified this, but he stopped. She'd laugh again, that cruel edge priming deeper. No, He wouldn't give her the satisfaction. Instead, he opened their shared cloud album, scrolling through photos. There they were. Lana grinning at their housewarming, him fixing the porch railing, both of them sunburned after painting the fence. Each image was a brick in the life they'd built, now ashes in her wake. He paused on a shot from last Christmas. Lana in a red sweater, her arm around him, the tree they decorated together glowing behind them. Her smile looked real. Was it? Or had she already been planning this, Travis waiting in the wings? The question gnawed, but worse was her detachment, how she'd dismantled their shared dreams with a phone call like canceling a subscription. Michael set the phone down, hands shaking. He wasn't just losing her, he was losing the version of himself that believed in them. The man who'd proposed on that creaky porch, who'd carried her over the threshold, who'd thought forever was a promise, not a trap. Lana hadn't just betrayed him, she'd rewritten their story, made him the fool. He stood again, needing to move, to shake the weight. Another memory, signing the deed, her hand brushing his as they laughed about being real adults. That house was their proof, their stake in the world. She'd taken it, not with tears or regret, but with a smirk. The audacity of it, her thinking she could erase him so cleanly, lit something hard in his chest. He looked at the whiskey, then pushed it aside. Clarity, not numbness, was what he needed. Lana thought she'd won, thought she could gut him and walk away. She didn't know him at all. That house was his as much as hers. More, maybe, in ways she'd never grasp. He'd fight for it, not out of spite, but because it was his. Because he was still his. Michael closed the laptop, the room's silence settling around him. The betrayal was a wound, but it wasn't fatal. Not yet. He'd go back to Austin, face whatever she'd done, and he'd do it standing tall. Michael woke to the gray light of his Denver hotel room, the remnants of a sleepless night clinging to him like damp cloth. Lana's voice. "I sold the house," looped in his head. But something else stirred now, a half-buried memory cutting through the haze. He sat up, the bed creaking, and grabbed his phone. No messages from her. No apologies, no taunts, just silence. He didn't know if that made it worse. His fingers hesitated over the screen, then tapped a name. Tessa. His old friend, a real estate attorney in Austin, sharp as a tack and loyal since their college days. If anyone could untangle Lana's claim, it was her. He hit call, pacing the room as it rang. "Michael Reed up before 9? Tessa's voice was warm, teasing. "What's the crisis?" He exhaled, steadying himself. "Lana says she sold our house, says she's leaving me. I don't even know where to start." A pause, then her tone shifted, all business. "Back up. Sold it. As in your house in Austin? Both your names are on the deed, right?" "That's the thing," he said, his mind catching on that memory again, clearer now. "They might not be." He stopped pacing, the realization locking into place. "COVID, 2 years ago, we refinanced to cut the rate. There was a tax thing, my accountant said it'd be cleaner if the deed was just in my name. Lana signed off on it. She was in a rush, didn't even read the papers." Tessa let out a low whistle. "You're saying the deed's only in your name?" "I think so." He rubbed his temple, piecing it together. It was a hectic week. Her studio was reopening. I was slammed with deadlines. We didn't think it'd matter. Just paperwork, you know? "Paperwork matters," Tessa said, a grin in her voice. "If that's true, Lana can't legally sell anything. It's not hers to sell. That's fraud, Michael, plain and simple." Fraud. The word landed heavy, a lifeline and a landmine. He sank onto the bed, the weight of it sinking in. Lana hadn't just betrayed him, she'd overplayed her hand, thinking he wouldn't notice, wouldn't fight. "You're sure?" he asked. "I'd need to see the deed to confirm, but yeah, sounds like she's bluffing, or worse," Tessa said. "Do you have a copy? Digital, physical, anything?" "Maybe in my files at home," he said. "I've got emails from the refinance too, somewhere. I can dig tonight." "Good. Find them," she said. "Email me everything, deed, loan docs, whatever you've got. I'll pull records from the county too. If she's claiming a sale, there's a paper trail and it won't hold up if your name's the only one on title." He nodded, though she couldn't see it. What if she's already got a buyer? She sounded so certain. "Then we've got leverage," Tessa said, her voice steel. "A buyer's not closing on a contested deed. Worst case, she's forged something, and that's a felony. Best case, she's lying to scare you. Either way, we'll know by tomorrow." Michael's grip on the phone tightened. Leverage. For the first time since Lana's call, he felt a flicker of control, like he wasn't just reacting. "Thanks, Tessa. I owe you." "You owe me drinks when this is over," she said, softening. "Look, Michael, I'm sorry. Lana pulling this. It's low. But you've got the upper hand here, legally at least. Don't let her mess with your head. I'm trying, he said, managing a grim smile. I'll call you tonight. He hung up, the room's silence louder now. That refinancing decision, rushed, pragmatic, forgotten, had been a fluke, a bit of bureaucratic luck. Lana hadn't cared about the details then, waving off his explanations with a laugh. Just sign it, Michael. I trust you. Had she even remembered, or had she assumed the house was still hers to gamble with? He opened his laptop, pulling up old emails from 2020. Keywords: refinance, deed, title. Yielded a thread with their mortgage broker. There it was, a PDF attachment labeled deed transfer. He didn't open it yet. He'd forward it to Tessa first, let her confirm. But the sight of it, time-stamped and real, steadied him. This wasn't just his word against Lana's. This was fact. He leaned back, staring at the ceiling. The betrayal still burned. Her affair, her laugh, Travis. But this was something else. Lana hadn't just left him. She'd tried to steal what was his, banking on his shock to keep him passive. She'd miscalculated. He wasn't the pushover she thought. Michael closed the laptop and stood, purpose settling in his bones. He'd fly back to Austin tomorrow, armed with Tessa's advice and whatever documents he could find. Lana wanted a fight, she'd get one. But it'd be on his terms, with the law on his side. Michael boarded the flight to Austin, his carry-on heavier than it should have felt, stuffed with printouts of the deed, refinance emails, and a notarized copy of the title Tessa had pulled from county records overnight. The plane's hum couldn't drown out the pulse in his ears. Lana's call. I sold the house. Travis had been a sucker punch, but the documents in his bag were his counterstrike. She'd tried to erase him. He wouldn't let her. He settled into his window seat, the Denver skyline shrinking below. Tessa's call that morning had been brief, her voice clipped with focus. Deeds in your name only, Michael. Confirmed. No sales been recorded, no contracts, no transfers. She's either lying or delusional. Get home, secure the house, and we'll handle the rest. Her certainty was a lifeline, but it didn't dull the ache. Lana hadn't just betrayed him, she'd gambled with. He pulled a legal pad from his bag, scribbling notes to keep his hands steady. Deed, emails, title. He listed every file he'd sent Tessa, every date he could recall from the refinance. The facts were his armor, cold and solid. But his mind kept drifting. Not to Lana's laugh this time, but to himself. How he'd let things slide, the late nights she'd spent. He'd trusted her, chalked it up to her needing space. Blind. He'd been blind, and it cost him. The pen dug into the paper, ink bleeding. He flipped to a fresh page, forcing focus. What would he say when he saw her? He imagined her in their living room, maybe with Travis, acting like she owned the place. The thought made his jaw tighten, but he wouldn't storm in shouting. No. He'd be calm, deliberate, the deed laid out like a checkmate. This is mine. You lied. He rehearsed the words, testing their weight. Too harsh, and she'd twist it, play victim. Too soft, and she'd walk over him again. He wrote, stay factual, show the deed, no emotion. Easier said than done. 7 years of marriage, arguments, laughter, quiet mornings. Couldn't be erased with a deep breath. He saw her now, in flashes, rolling her eyes when he worked late, softening when he brought her coffee in bed. When had she stopped being his Lana? When had he stopped noticing? The plane dipped, turbulent, jolting him. He gripped the armrest, grounding himself. This wasn't about nostalgia. It was about what was his. Legally, undeniably. Tessa had been clear. Lana's sale was a fiction, a bluff to scare him off. But why? To hurt him? To fund whatever she was chasing with Travis? He didn't care anymore. He just wanted her out. Of his house, his life. He sketched a plan. Step 1, get home, check the locks, make sure nothing was missing. Tessa had warned him to document everything. Furniture, art, anything Lana might have touched. Step 2, confront her. If she was there, he'd show the deed, demand answers. If not, he'd call her, keep it short. You can't sell what's mine, leave. Step 3, let Tessa handle the legal fallout. Fraud, she'd said. Lana had crossed a line, and he'd make sure she faced it. His pen slowed. He thought of the house, its creaky porch, the kitchen island they'd built memories around. It wasn't just brick and mortar. It was proof he'd built something, proof he could rebuild. Lana had manipulated him for years, subtly, then brutally. The late cancellations, the guilt trips when he pushed back. He'd bent, thinking it was love. No more. This fight wasn't vengeance, it was survival. The plane's descent pulled his gaze to the window. Austin's sprawl came into view, familiar and raw. He folded the legal pad, tucking it beside the documents. His bag felt lighter now, purposely replacing panic. He'd walk into that house with the truth in his hands, not a plea on his lips. Lana thought she'd broken him, thought her laugh would be the last word. She was wrong. He leaned back, closing his eyes. The confrontation loomed, but he wasn't afraid. Not anymore. He'd say what needed saying, do what needed doing, and when it was over he'd stand in his house, alone maybe, but whole. Michael pulled into the driveway, the familiar crunch of gravel under his tires drowned out by the thud of his pulse. The Austin house loomed ahead, its porch light glowing like nothing had changed, but everything had. The windows reflected a stranger's touch, new curtains, garish yellow, where Lana's minimalist grays used to hang. His grip tightened on the steering wheel. She was here, and she wasn't alone. He grabbed his bag, the deed and documents tucked inside, their weight his only anchor. The air was thick with late Texas heat as he stepped out, each stride to the front door deliberate. His key slid into the lock, still worked, thank God. The door creaked open and he froze. The living room wasn't his anymore. The couch was shoved against the wrong wall, a tacky red throw blanket draped over it. Paint cans sat open by the fireplace, a half-finished wall now a jarring teal. The smell of fresh latex stung his nose, but worse was the sound. Laughter, hers, spilling from the kitchen. He set his bag down, slow, silent. His boots clicked on the hard wood as he moved forward, the deed in his hand like a loaded gun. Rounding the corner, he saw them. Lana, perched on the kitchen island, his island, sipping wine, her hair loose, a smirk playing on her lips. Beside her, a man, a transpistoled out, leaned close, leaned close, maybe 30, with a gym rat build and a smug grin that slinged overconfident. Lana's eyes flicked up, catching Michael's. Her smile didn't falter, but something flickered. Surprise, maybe, or calculation. "Oh, look who's back," she said, voice syrupy. "Didn't expect you so soon." Travis turned, sizing him up, his grin widening. "Is the guy," he asked, like Michael was a stray dog wandered in. Michael ignored him, locking eyes with Lana. "We need to talk." She waved a hand dismissively. "Talk's done, Michael. I told you on the phone. This," she gestured around, wine sloshing in her glass, "it's not yours anymore. Move on." He stepped forward, the deed crinkling in his grip. "You don't get to decide that." His voice was low, steady, every word measured. He unfolded the paper and laid it on the island, right between her wine glass and Travis's elbow. "This does." Lana's smirk twitched, her eyes darting to the document. Travis leaned forward, squinting, but didn't touch it. "What's that supposed to be?" he asked, a challenge in his tone. "The deed," Michael said, not breaking eye contact with Lana. "My name only. You didn't sell anything, Lana. You can't sell anything. This house is mine." Her laugh came, sharp and forced, but it cracked at the edges. "You're pathetic," she said, sliding off the island, her bare feet hitting the floor. "You think a piece of paper changes anything? I've got a buyer, Michael. It's done." "Then where's the contract?" he shot back, stepping closer. "Where's the closing? You've got nothing because you lied." He tapped the deed, his finger jabbing the signature line, his name alone. "This is legal, you're not." Travis stood now, puffing his chest, his jaw tight. "Watch your tone, man. You're in our space now." Michael turned to him, slow, his stare cold. "Your space? You don't belong here. And if you're smart, you'll start asking her what else she's lied about." Travis's smirk faltered, his eyes flicking to Lana. She scoffed, tossing her hair, but her hands shook as she grabbed her glass. "Don't listen to him," she said, too quick. "He's grasping, Travis. He's got nothing." Michael folded his arms, the deed still on the island like a guillotine. "Tessa's already pulling records. No sales filed, no buyers real. You want to keep this up, Lana? Fraud's a felony. You're not walking away clean." Her face shifted, the bravado slipping, her lips parted, but no sound came. Travis's gaze darted between them, his smugness unraveling. "What's he talking about, Lana?" he asked, voice low, edged with doubt. She spun on him, snapping, "It's handled, okay? He's bluffing." Michael didn't flinch. "Am I? Call your buyer. See how far this goes when they check the title." He leaned in, voice quieter now, lethal. "You thought I'd roll over. You thought wrong." Lana's eyes glistened, but not with tears. Rage, maybe, or panic. She grabbed the deed, crumpling it in her fist, but Michael didn't move. "You don't get to win this," she hissed. He met her glare unflinching. "I already have." Travis shifted, his hands balling into fists, but he didn't step closer. The air crackled, heavy with the weight of Lana's unraveling lie. Michael stood tall, the house around him feeling like his again, if only for this moment. The kitchen air hung thick, the crumpled deed still clenched in Lana's fist. Michael stood firm, his eyes locked on hers, unflinching as her bravado bled away. the island between them. Once their shared anchor felt like a battlefield now, littered with the wreckage of her lies. Travis hovered near her, his earlier smugness replaced by a twitchy unease, his gaze darting from Lana to the document she gripped like a lifeline. "What's he mean, Lana?" Travis's voice cut through, sharper now, his arms crossed tight. "You said the house was yours to sell. You said it was done." Lana spun on him, her face a flash of fury. "It is done," she snapped, but her voice wavered, too thin to carry the lie. She tossed the deed onto the island, the paper skidding toward Michael. "He's twisting it, Travis. He's always been like this, controlling, obsessive. Don't let him get in your head." Michael didn't blink. "Ask her for the sale papers," he said, calm, his words aimed at Travis like a dart. "Ask her to show you the contract, or the buyer's name. Go on." Travis's jaw tightened, his eyes narrowing at Lana. "That true? There's no buyer?" Her laugh was brittle, a cracked veneer. "Of course there's a buyer," she said, but her hands fluttered, betraying her, grabbing her wineglass only to set it down untouched. It's in progress. These things take time." "Time?" Michael stepped closer, his voice low, steady. "You told me it was signed. Money's coming. Done deal. Which is it, Lana?" He gestured to the deed. "That's the title. My name. No sales filed. County records prove it. You're not just lying to me. You're lying to him." Travis's face darkened, his fists unclenching as doubt took root. "Lana, what the hell? You dragged me into this, said it was clean. Now he's talking fraud?" He took a step back toward the doorway, his voice rising. "You set me up?" "No!" she shouted, her composure shattering. She turned to Michael, pointing, her nails sharp in the air. "This is you, Michael. You planned this, didn't you? Dug up some old paper to screw me over. You can't stand that I'm happy, that I'm free." Michael shook his head, almost pitying her. "You're not free. You're trapped in your own mess." He kept his tone even, refusing her bait. "I didn't plan anything. You did. You thought you could scare me out, take what's mine. It's over." She lunged forward, slamming her hands on the island, the wineglass wobbling. "You don't get to lecture me. 7 years, Michael. 7 years of your boring routines, your safe little life. I deserved better. Travis is better." Her voice cracked, desperation seeping through. "You can't take this from me." Travis snorted, his patience snapping. "Better? I'm out here looking like a damn fool because you lied." He grabbed his jacket from a chair, slinging it over his shoulder. "You told me the house was yours, Lana, said we'd start fresh. Now I'm in some scam?" He shook his head, disgust plain. "I'm done." "Travis, wait." She reached for him, but he jerked away, already halfway to the door. "Don't," he said, not looking back. "You figure this out. I'm not your pawn." The front door slammed, the sound echoing like a gunshot. Lana stood frozen, her breath ragged. The kitchen felt smaller now, the teal wall and paint cans mocking her failed reinvention. She turned to Michael, her eyes blazing, but the fight was draining fast. "You're loving this, aren't you?" she whispered, venom lacing each word. "Ruining everything." He met her gaze, unshaken. "You ruined it. I'm just cleaning up." He picked up the deed, smoothing it out, its creases a map of her defeat. "You've got no claim here, no sale, no buyer, no ground to stand on." She tried one last jab, her voice trembling. "You'll miss me. You'll beg me to come back when you're alone in this empty house." Michael didn't flinch. "I'll sleep fine." He folded the deed, tucking it into his pocket. "You don't get to guilt me anymore." Her shoulders sagged, the fire in her eyes dimming to ash. She grabbed her wineglass, clutching it like a shield, but said nothing. The silence was louder than her accusations, heavier than Travis's exit. Michael watched her, not with triumph, but with a quiet resolve. She'd tried to break him, to rewrite their life with a lie. She'd failed. He turned, heading for the living room, leaving her alone with the mess she'd made. The house was still his, and so was he. Michael stood in the living room, the echo of Travis's slammed door still ringing in the air. The house felt like it was holding its breath, the garish yellow curtains and half-painted teal wall glaring under the dim light. Lana hadn't followed him from the kitchen. He heard her there still. Glass clinking, a muffled curse. Her defeat was palpable, but he knew her too well to think she'd go quietly. He set the deed on the coffee table, its edges smoothed but scarred from her grip. His phone buzzed. "Tessa, checking in. Records clean. No sale filed. You good?" He texted back. "Under control. Talk tomorrow." Control was a stretch, but he was close. The house was his, legally unshaken. Land's bluff had collapsed and Travis was gone. Yet the victory felt hollow, the silence heavy with 7 years of broken promises. Footsteps broke his thoughts. Lana appeared in the doorway, her wine glass empty, her face a mix of defiance and desperation. "You think this is over?" she said, voice low, unsteady. "You can't just kick me out, Michael. This is my home too." He met her eyes, calm but unyielding. "Not according to the deed. You've got no claim, Lana. You made sure of that." She laughed, a bitter sound clutching the doorframe. "You're so cold. Always were. That's why I left, you know. You and your damn plans, your safe little world. I was suffocating." Her words aimed to wound, but they glanced off him, dull against his resolve. "You left because you wanted to," he said, folding his arms. "Don't rewrite it now, but this," he nodded at the room, "this is mine. You've got a few days to pack and go." Her eyes widened, a flash of panic breaking through. "A few days? You can't be serious. Where am I supposed to?" "That's not my problem," he cut in, voice firm but not cruel. "You plan to sell my house out from under me. You don't get to play victim now." She stepped forward, her hands twisting together, her voice dropping to a plead. "Michael, come on, we had something once. You loved me. Don't do this. Don't make me beg." Her eyes glistened, but he saw the calculation behind them, the same guilt she'd wielded for years. Cancelled plans blamed on his work, fights turned back on his. He shook his head, unmoved. "You don't get to use that anymore. Pack your things. Be out by the weekend." Lana's face hardened, the tears vanishing as fast as they'd appeared. "You'll regret this," she hissed, brushing past him toward the stairs. "You'll be alone, and you'll hate it." He didn't answer, letting her words dissolve into the air. Her footsteps thumped above, followed by the slam of a drawer. He exhaled, the tension in his shoulders easing slightly. She'd go try to drag it out, he knew her, but she'd go. She had no leverage left. Over the next 2 days, Lana's departure was chaos wrapped in defiance. She'd packed erratically, leaving half-filled boxes in the hallway, clothes spilling across the guest room floor. Michael kept his distance, working from his laptop in the dining room, answering Tessa's updates. Buyers ghosted, no fraud charges needed yet. Lana's buyer, if real, had likely sniffed out a rye. Good. She tried once more, cornering him Friday night in the kitchen. Her bags were by the door, a taxi idling outside. "You're making a mistake," she said, her voice softer now, almost mournful. "We could have fixed this. You didn't have to be so hard." He looked at her, the woman he'd once vowed forever to, and felt only clarity. "You made your choice, Lana. I'm making mine." He stepped aside, gesturing to the door. "Safe travels." Her lips trembled, but she grabbed her bags, heels clicking as she left. The taxi's engine faded down the street, and the house settled, its creaks and hums louder in her absence. Michael walked to the living room, sinking into the couch. The old one, not her red throw nonsense. The air felt lighter, like the walls themselves exhaled. He glanced at the coffee table, where the deed still lay. His name, his home. Not hers, not theirs, his. The ache of her betrayal lingered, but it was quieter now, overshadowed by something new. Relief. He'd held the line, not with anger, but with truth. The house was his again, and so was his life. Michael woke to sunlight streaming through the living room window, the yellow curtains gone, stuffed into a trash bag by the door. The house felt raw, stripped of Lana's chaotic imprint, but not yet his own. Her teal paint streaked the kitchen wall like a bad bruise, and the furniture, shoved around during her redecorating spree, sat at odd angles, unfamiliar. He stood, coffee mug in hand, and surveyed the space. This wasn't just about moving chairs back, it was about erasing her shadow and making the house his. He started small. The red throw blanket she'd draped over the couch went into the donation pile. Too loud, too much like her. He dragged the couch back to its original spot, facing the fireplace where they'd once spent winters arguing over Netflix. The memory stung, but he pushed through, repositioning the coffee table, its scratches a map of their old life. He kept what mattered, the oak bookshelf he'd built, the leather chair she'd called too bulky, her sleek vases and abstract prints, boxed for charity. By noon he was in the garage, digging out paint cans, soft beige, a color she'd vetoed as boring. He cracked one open, the sharp scent grounding him. Brush in hand, he tackled the teal wall first, each stroke burying her mark. The kitchen hummed with his work, the radio playing low, classic rock filling the silence. He didn't rush. Every swipe was deliberate, a reclaiming of space and self. When the wall was done, he stepped back, sweat beading on his brow. The beige wasn't flashy, but it was honest. Like him. He moved to the bedroom next, the hardest room. Her side of the closet was empty, hangers dangling like ghosts, but her scent jasmine perfume lingered. He stripped the bed, tossing her floral sheets for plain navy ones he'd bought years ago, ones she'd banished to storage. The mattress felt firmer under his hands, like it was waking up too. He hung a framed blueprint from his first big project, a community center, over the dresser, replacing her mirror with its gaudy gold frame. The room breathed easier, less like a stage for her drama. Downstairs, he unpacked art she'd never liked, a charcoal sketch of Austin's skyline, a photo of him biking the hill country trails. They went up on the walls, small acts of defiance. He rearranged the dining table, setting it for one, a quiet promise to himself. The house wasn't just walls, it was his refuge, his proof he could rebuild. His phone buzzed mid-afternoon, Tessa with an update. No buyers surfaced, she said, her voice crisp. Lana's story was hot air. I've got fraud charges drafted as a precaution, but we may not need them. You want to press it? Michael paused, roller in hand, paint speckling his jeans. Not yet, he said. She's gone. That's enough for now. He didn't want her in jail, just out of his life. Tessa agreed, promising to tie up loose ends. Come by when you're settled, she added. You owe me that drink. Deal, he said, smiling for the first time in days. He worked late, the house transforming under his hands. The porch light flickered. He'd fix that tomorrow. He dragged a rug from the attic, one his mom had given them, its faded patterns more his style than Lana's stark minimalism. Each change was a stitch, mending what she'd torn. The house wasn't perfect yet, but it was starting to feel like home. By evening, he sat in the leather chair, a beer in hand, the room quiet save for the hum of crickets outside. The ache of Lana's betrayal hadn't vanished. It probably never would, but it was softer now, less a blade and more a bruise. He looked around, at the walls he'd painted, the art he'd chosen. It wasn't her space anymore. It was his, built from the ground up, not just in mortar but in choices. He thought of the years he'd dimmed himself, bending to her whims, swallowing his wants to keep peace. No more. The house was his canvas now, and so was his life. He'd make mistakes, sure, but they'd be his own. For the first time in years, that felt like enough. Michael took a sip, the cold beer sharp on his tongue. The house settled around him, creaks and all, and he nodded to himself. This was the start, not of revenge, but of something better, something true. Michael sat at the dining table, the morning light spilling across the polished wood, his laptop open but untouched. The house was quiet, its new beige walls and rearranged furniture settling into a rhythm that felt like his own. 3 weeks since Lana's chaotic exit, and the air was clearer, the weight of her presence gone. But an email from her sat in his inbox, unopened, its subject line. He stared at it, his coffee cooling, and felt nothing but resolve. The divorce papers had arrived yesterday, delivered by courier, Tessa's name on the envelope as his attorney. He'd read them twice. The legal terms blunt. Dissolution of marriage, no contest, no shared assets beyond the house, which was already his. Lana's signature was there, jagged but final, inked at the bottom. He hadn't expected it so soon. Part of him braced for another fight, another manipulation. But there it was, done. He'd signed his part last night, the pen steady in his hand, and sent them back to Tessa. Today, she'd file. By evening, he'd be free. He glanced at Lana's email again. Her words didn't matter. She'd plead, justify, maybe blame him one last time. He'd heard it all before, in her voice, in her tears, in that final kitchen showdown. You'll regret this. You'll be alone. Alone wasn't empty. It was space to breathe, to build. He hovered over the delete button, then pressed it. The email vanished, no trace left. He didn't need to read it. He didn't need her closure. His was enough. He leaned back, the chair creaking softly. The house felt different now, not just in its paint or furniture, but in its pulse. The porch light was fixed, the creaky step patched. He'd cooked dinner here last night, simple pasta, his own recipe, savoring the act of choosing for himself. Small victories, maybe, but they stacked up, each one a brick in the life he was shaping. His mind wandered to the past, not with pain but with clarity. He saw their marriage in flashes, good days like dancing in the kitchen to old jazz, her laugh bright. Bad ones, her silences cutting deeper than words. He'd loved her fiercely once, poured himself into their shared dreams. But somewhere those dreams split. She chased hers, left him holding theirs. He could have fought harder, maybe, caught her drift sooner. Or maybe it was always heading here, two people growing apart until one broke the thread. He didn't regret the years, but he didn't mourn them either. They'd shaped him, taught him what he'd never been for again. His phone buzzed. Tessa. Papers are filed, she said when he answered, her voice warm but brisk. Court's fast today, you're officially done by 5. How's it feel? He exhaled, a half smile tugging at his lips. Good. Quiet. Thanks for everything, Tessa. Don't thank me yet, she said, teasing. You still owe me that drink. Tomorrow night? Tomorrow, he agreed, the promise light but real. He hung up, setting the phone down. The divorce was a line drawn, not an end but a pivot. He thought of the house, its walls carrying his choices, now beige paint, his art, his rules. It wasn't perfect, but it was honest, like him. He'd spent years building for two, then fighting for one. Now he could build for himself. He stood, clearing his coffee mug, and walked to the living room. The leather chair, Lana's old nemesis, sat by the window, his blueprint sketch hung above. He ran a hand over the chair's arm, its worn grain familiar. This was his space, his stake. Not a shrine to what was, but a foundation for what could be. Michael looked out the window, Austin's oak swaying in the breeze. He felt the house breathe with him, its creaks a quiet chorus. The divorce was done, Lana's shadow gone. He wasn't the man she'd left. He was stronger, clearer, his own. She'd walked away thinking she'd won, but he'd found something better. Himself. He turned from the window, a faint smile settling. The day stretched ahead, work, maybe a bike ride, dinner on his terms. Necessary this break had been. Not easy, but right. He was ready for what came next. Michael pedaled hard against the Austin Trail, the morning air sharp in his lungs, the blur of live oaks and limestone grounding him. His cycling group, a mix of strangers turned friends, kept pace, their chatter about routes and breakfast spots filling the gaps where Lana's absence used to echo. 3 months since the divorce finalized and the house was his, inside and out. So was he. He'd started small, testing the waters of a life no longer tethered to her. The cycling group came first, found through a flyer at his coffee shop. Saturday rides turned into weeknight beers, names like Sam and Priya becoming familiar, their stories pulling him out of his own head. He didn't talk much about Lana, didn't need to. They saw the guy who showed up, chain grease on his hands, quick with a dry joke. That was enough. Back home, he showered, the bathroom's new tiles, matte black, his choice, gleaming under the light. The house had become his canvas. He'd ripped out her sterile white curtains, hung woven shades that warmed the rooms. The kitchen island, once her stage, now held his experiments, sourdough attempts, half-burned but his. He'd signed up for a cooking class last week, Tuesday nights, at a community center. Chopping onions, he'd laughed harder than he had in years, the instructor's bad puns cutting through his gargle. It wasn't about the food. It was about trying, messing up, owning it. He grabbed a coffee and sat at the dining table, his laptop open to emails. Work was steady, his designs for a new library earning nods from the firm's partners. But it was the side projects that lit him up. Pro bono sketches for a local shelter, late nights tweaking plans for a park pavilion. He worked for himself now, not her approval, and the difference showed. His lines were bolder, his ideas less safe. His phone pinged, a text from Tessa. Dinner tonight? I'm craving tacos. He grinned, typing back, 7 at Guero's. Bring your A-game. Tessa had been a constant, her legal savvy saving his house, her friendship saving more. Their talks stayed easy, movies, her latest case, his cycling mishaps. But there was a warmth, a maybe Sunday spark neither pushed. For now, her showing up, no strings, was enough. He walked to the living room, the leather chair by the window his spot now. The blueprint sketch above it, his first big win, caught the light. He'd started framing others, stacking them in the hall, a school he'd designed, a plaza in progress. Each was a piece of him, proof he was more than the guy Lana left. She'd called him boring, predictable. He wasn't. Never had been. Evenings were his own now. Some nights he read biographies, not the thrillers she'd pushed. Others, he'd sit on the porch, beer in hand, the creak of the swing his only company. Solitude wasn't lonely, it was freedom. He'd spent years molding himself to her rhythm, dimming what didn't fit. Now he could stretch. Loud and messy, and like it. He thought back to the divorce, that final signature. It hadn't broken him, it had cracked him open. He'd lost her, sure, but found pieces of himself he'd forgotten. The guy who'd sketch until dawn, who'd bike hills just to feel the burn, who'd laugh at his own bad cooking. Lana's exit hadn't been the end, it was the start. At Guero's later, Tessa slid into the booth across from him, her grin sharp. You look good, she said, stealing a chip. Less haunted. He chuckled, leaning back. Haunted's overrated. They talked over tacos. Her court win, his latest ride, the shelter project. She didn't pry, didn't need to. Her presence was steady, a reminder he wasn't alone unless he chose to be. Walking home, the Austin night buzzing around him, Michael felt the house waiting, not just walls, but a life. His life. He wasn't chasing revenge or proving a point. He was building, day by day, choice by choice. Pride wasn't in outsmarting Lana. It was in standing tall, claiming his own story. He stepped onto the porch, the swing creaking softly. The stars were out, sharp against the dark. He nodded to himself, content. This was his. All of it. Michael eased into the leather chair, the one Lana had always hated, too clunky, she'd said, to him. The living room glowed soft under the lamp's light, his sketches on the walls catching shadows. A library, a park pavilion, pieces of a life he'd built from the ground up. A glass of bourbon sat on the table beside him, its amber glint steady like the house itself. 6 months since the divorce, and the air felt clean, the creaks familiar, the space wholly his. His phone buzzed, a notification breaking the quiet. An email from Lana, her name a ghost from a past he no longer carried. No subject, just her address staring back. He didn't open it. Didn't need to. Her words, pleat, excuses, accusations, had no weight anymore. He swiped delete, the motion automatic, final. She'd left thinking she'd gutted him, but she'd only cleared the way. He sipped the bourbon, its burn sharp and slow. The house hummed around him, alive with his choices. Beige walls he'd painted, woven shades he'd hung, the oak bookshelf stacked with his books, not hers. The porch swing outside creaked in the breeze, a sound he'd fixed once but let stay, a quirk he liked. It wasn't just a house, it was home, earned through every fight, earned choice to stand firm. He thought back, not to her but to himself. The man who'd walked into that Denver lobby, reeling from her call, was gone. That Michael had been tethered to her rhythm, bending to keep peace. This one didn't bend, not for guilt, not for ghosts. He'd found cycling trails, cooked bad stir-fries, sketched designs that made his pulse race. Tessa's laughter over tacos, Sam's banter on rides, Priya's quiet nods at his shelter plans. They weren't replacements for Lana. They were proof he didn't need one. The bourbon warmed his chest. He looked around, at the chair, the sketches, the life he'd carved. Lana had walked away thinking she'd won, that her laugh would echo longer than his resolve. She'd been wrong. She'd lost the house, the lie, the man she underestimated. He'd found everything she didn't see. His strength, his clarity, his home. Michael set the glass down, a faint smile settling. The night stretched beyond the window, Austin's pulse faint but alive. He leaned back, the chair creaking under him, and let the quiet hold him. She walked away thinking she'd won, but in truth, he found everything she lost.